Have you ever wanted to know how your headset works? This little piece inside the top of your bike is one of the most simple pieces to keep your bike running, but if you don't know how to properly adjust it, it can cause all kinds of pain, cause you to crash, cause your fork to break, and so we want to figure out how this works. So today we are going to talk about everything headsets. Hi, I am retired professional triathlete TJ Tollakson, CEO of Dimond Bikes, and today I have world famous professional bike mechanic Jordan Enzo Costello joining us here. So Jordan is going to run over this tech, so I'm going to start asking Jordan some questions about headsets. All right, Jordan, so the most simple question about a headset that everybody has is, how do I install a headset?
So first you'll want to start out with greasing everything. Anywhere that the bearing makes contact with the frame or the fork, you want to grease that, otherwise it's going to creak real bad.
Okay. So if you open that box right there, that lunch box right there in that green frame, I think there's a little bit of grease in there. A little surprise grease. Oh, surprise grease, look at that. It isn't a syringe, so it's easy to apply, but go ahead and show us what you need to do. So we've got a frame here. You can see, so he's
put it
gonna
around the edge, you kind of wipe it around. You gotta do both sides there, boom. And then you would push your bearings in. You got our bottom bearing here.
Which way does that go in? Let's talk about that real quick, because it's really important.
So what you'll want to do is there'll be a little concave here, and you want that side going up. Otherwise, it's not going to sit in the frame right.
Right. So there's a beveled edge. It's got a 45-degree angle on it. That needs to go up on the bottom and down on the top. So the beveled edges need to go in the middle. They make a beveled sandwich.
And then you will actually want to grease the tops of the bearings here, because that's going to make contact there. Put your dust cap on. From the fork, you just want to make sure everything's sitting flat and not sitting all weird. Then from this point here, you would add your spacers in, or if you're running the carbide or the radiant, it'll be these ones here, a little bit different. So you put that on there, and then from there it'd be your stem or bar if it's a one piece.
Okay, and so let me go run and grab a stem real quick,
okay,
so we can actually do this properly.
Should grab some more spacers too.
Yeah. Zip, torque screws.
Yeah, those would be T25s.
T20s.
T20s?
Yeah.
No, those are always T25s.
T20s.
I swear. No, that's a 25.
Yeah, it's a 20. This is what fits.
No, it's a 25.
Oh, it is?
Yeah. Lyndon's like, well, okay, now I'm just recording nothing.
We're back here, we've got a stem now, and you have this thing called a compression plug. What the hell is a compression plug?
What the hell is a gigawatt?
So what a compression plug is what it does is it goes in here, you tighten it down, and it expands in this gear there.
But this sits flush against the top of the fork, and as it's inside there, he's tightening this, it's expanding, and it's pushing out on the fork steer tube. So this is really important if you have a carbon steer tube, because it actually creates a static load where we're going to clamp. So we're going to stick the stem over the top of this, and then what happens after we put the stem over the top of this is we clamp over where this is pushing out, right? So if we don't have a compression plug in on a carbon steer tube, we can over tighten the stem, crush the carbon right there, and we don't want to crush the carbon. Always remember, put your plug in, okay? Compression plug first, and then we can get going. So we got some spacers we can do, and we recommend how many spacers under, how many over, kind of on the max.
So, I mean, we do 8 underneath.
8 5 mils.
Yep,
so how many?
from
That's
factory.
8 times 5 is?
Like 100.
40 millimeters.
Sorry, well,
8? Yeah. Who taught you math? More? I don't know.
all right, so you add your spacers, and it will vary too, depending on what stem you run too.
Slippery suckers. Okay, so he's gonna take one more 5 mil out, but the assembly of this is really important because we want to have one cap on the top here. And why do we want one spacer on the top?
Otherwise, you're just going to be bottoming out your top cap here against your compression plug, and you're not going to get the right tightness. It's still going to be loose no matter how tight you tighten it.
Right, right. So if we don't tighten it enough, it leaves a what? Makes it what?
It's just going to be loose, and
loose
you'll
headset.
feel it in your fork, and it could ruin the frame.
And if it's too tight, what happens?
You won't be able to steer properly.
Right, it'll catch when you're moving it side to side, and both of them can lead to damage to your frame or your bike, your head tube, or the fork. So we want to make sure that we have that right as well. One thing that we didn't talk about on the bike is crown races. And if we look at this fork, you see this one has a crown race. The one that we did here does not have a crown race. It's because it's a carbon crown race, so it's integrated into the fork. So this is a little aluminum piece around here, and it does the same thing that the top bearing does, but what it does is it allows the bearing to sit on there flush and move around smooth, right?
Smooth.
Now we got this, we're gonna put a spacer on top. So he's got one spacer, a top cap. We're gonna tighten that down. Now, how tight? How tight?
So you just want to snug it up to where there's no play, but it's not going to be overly tight, that your bearings are going to be compressed so much that they won't work properly.
All right, so now once it's like this, we're good, right? I mean, we're ready to ride?
Nope. If
Oh,
you were to ride
man.
that would be very dangerous.
Yeah, what would happen if we did this right now?
You would hop on your bike. The first turn you go to make, you'd do that.
Right, right. So you can see it is tight now, so we've compressed the bearings down, but the last step is to tighten what?
Tighten your two clamp bolts here. And
Right.
some stems have one, some have two. And you'll just want to tighten it down to what the stem says on it. It's generally between 5 and 6 millimeters, or Newton meters.
Right, yeah. Yep, all right, so go ahead and tighten
So we'll
these and
tighten
show them
these
how you
up.
do it. You like the bottom one or the top one first?
That's what she said.
So I'll just start with the top one here.
Okay. And
then
he's gonna
you'll
go. Then he's gonna go to the bottom. He's gonna alternate between these two, so he doesn't create too much pinch force between them.
And then once you get that one, you'd want to double check this one with your torque, just because. And then you'd be all set to go.
All right. Obviously, if you look at this zip stem that we have on here right now, it uses Torx heads. So, and I realize there's a reason for that, but that just means you got to have a special wrench with you all the time. And if you have like a multi-tool set like this, you just have to make sure like this one actually has it. We designed it for that. So now we're good. Now we can ride the bike, right?
Okay.
Okay. All right. So this was cool. This was a tri-bike. This was a stem. We got this. Now let's talk about a different style of compression plug from what we just saw, because there are several different types of compression plugs. So we've got another one here, and let's talk about how that one works real quick.
So this one's the same way here. It's just an 8 mil here, and what you're going to do is you're going to tighten it down, and it wedges them together, and it expands in the same way.
This one though, the danger with this one is you might accidentally drop this in the fork. And what happens if you drop that in the fork?
You got to fish it out.
How do you fish it out? What's the easiest way to
Pull
fish
the
it out?
fork out and tap it upside down. Or if you have it together somewhat, you can just flip the bike and kind of tap it a little bit and it'll come out.
Right. So it's really important though when you have this style, because that other one you saw has a collar on the top so it can't sink.
Yep.
Okay, it can sink if you loosen it too much, and then it will come apart, right? So this one can also come apart. So let's just take one apart and see what happens when we accidentally take it apart, right? Because I know all kinds of people who've taken these apart and been like, oh no, now what? I have 9 million little pieces of a headset.
Oh yeah, this can't miss.
So I got 4 of these gold pieces that all look the same. So what would you do if you saw all these little pieces here? And I'm not even a pro mechanic, but I'm just gonna walk you through how we kind of put this back together. Take one side of this and we're gonna start holding these pieces together with a rubber band. It will go back together, trust me, it will go back together. I'm just gonna, oh, got that guy upside down and this one too. You got some tips for me here, Jordan?
Yeah, don't take it all the way apart. See, this is when you could just come down to the Dimond tent and say hi to us.
Right, right. This happens during the race, when you travel. Stop by the Dimond booth, we'll help you out. Unfortunately, we can't be at all the events, so we can't always help you, which is why we make videos to help you.
I think you're going on 5 minutes here.
Got it. We're
Just
good.
like that.
We're good. A 5-minute fix there from 0 to full. So we're good. So we have this now. Jordan, I'm going to hand this back to a pro so we can do it faster. I just wanted to show you that an amateur like me can do this as well. So watch what he's going to do here. He's going to...
I like to do it with the fork sideways, or you can turn the bike sideways. You'll push it in, press a little bit. And then if you drop it, this is a good test. You can just kind of bump it, and it comes back down.
So again, he wants to put this compression plug slightly lower than the top of the steer tube so we don't run into the fact where we can't tighten it, because that's a problem too.
Just like that.
All right, so now we have this. We have a crown race on here. We talked about that. The bearing, okay, the beveled edge goes up on this. The bike frame would be in the middle of this. The other bearing would come down on the top here. The top cap then would go on top of that. And then we have these really cool aero spacers. And what's cool about this is the cables all run through the inside of the headset, which is, if you look at our Radiant and Carbide or Road and Gravel bikes, you'll see that all the cables are hidden on the bike and they all run in through here through the headset, which is a really cool feature to have. Jordan, do you have any other tips or advice about headsets while we're on the topic?
It's one really easy thing to realize that it's loose, you know, finish out your ride and then put your bike away. And I've done it, I've been guilty of it. And then you go out and ride your bike next time and you're like, oh, I'll do it next time at the end of my ride. But if you do that, it's just gonna damage your frame. So don't do that.
What is the check somebody can do? We've got a bike in kind of a stand over here. What's a check somebody could do on a bike to see if their headset is loose or not?
So the easiest is just pull your brake and you can just wiggle your bars. And if you feel play in there, then that means it's too loose.
And he's got Kellen O'Brien right behind him, ready to take a push.
How do you tell if it's too tight?
You'll go to turn your bars and it'll sound all not good, all like gravel. Or you won't even be able to turn it at all.
Right. Yeah, so a test that I like to do for that is if you pick the bike up like this and you move it, you should see a little bit of movement like this, right? It shouldn't fling over side to side, right? Because you don't want that would probably mean it was loose, but you want it to kind of just smoothly rotate when you move. And if you pick it up and you can turn the whole thing this way and it doesn't move at all,
Too tight.
too tight. Thanks for tuning in.
Goodbye.
If you enjoyed this video, you want to see more of it, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. I've got all kinds of great Ironman tips on training, nutrition, racing, amazing content. I would love for you to join me on this journey. Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Check it out every week.